Oh boy, I forgot that I'm like, that's not what my fucking screen looks like. Okay, so where we last left off, we were at Act 2. I think nothing is really longer than Act 1, to be honest. Act 1 is very, very long. So it gets shorter from here, depending on how much you end up really knowing. So we'll try and scale our player knowledge. My general strategy always, you'll probably pick this up if you just watch me play. My general strategy is always to take left turns. Doesn't really matter how much I know about the zone. Doesn't really matter how much I know that left is not the way to go to be the most optimal. Or it might in very specific cases, but I always try to take left turns. Because in zones where it is random, it seems like the best way to curb the randomness. And then make it more manageable. So, taking left turns, very cool. In a procedurally generated maze, I think taking left turns will always result in getting to the end. It might not necessarily be the fastest way. Ooh, lucrative. 3 additional currency items. That seems kind of good. This is like a kind of modifier that doesn't exist naturally, and this is kind of one of the cool aspects about doing this league is that you'll probably encounter a lot of things that just don't exist, that aren't normal. Oh, you know, I have Flesh Offering. I should use that. I have skills. I should probably use them. I will, though. I think one of the things that I will say about Summoner is it will appear, depending on what you actually end up playing. If you do play, Summoner will appear kind of strong because I can just kind of, I don't have to be directly attacking. So as a result, I kind of can fuck around, and my minions appear to do quite a bit of damage.
I barely recognize myself.
It's a pretty high maintenance thing to do. Once you get to an endgame, there's a bunch of skills, there's a bunch of management to do. Okay, so here we are, Act 2 Town. So now if you use a portal to return anywhere else in the act, you'll return here. It's kind of cool. You'll notice that there are 2 different doors out of this act. And there's a couple different ways you can end up doing this act. The way that I will generally go is I'll go to the right. And then you'll kind of, we'll break down kind of the map and how to get to the end. Depending on how you'd like to do it. One of the things you're going to want to be looking out for here is lightning resistance. So the first major boss is the first major boss is going to be at the bottom of the Chamber of Sins, which is one of the important zones that we're going to be getting to here. So you're going to want to be looking for topaz rings give flat lightning resistance passively. So look out for that. Gear with lightning resistance would be helpful. So keep an eye out for that stuff. Ooh, look at this. Gem Cutter's Strongbox. So I think it might be not conventional to necessarily identify objects on the boxes, but yeah, I think it makes sense if you're used to this genre of game to identify items. But it's not necessarily the most common practice to identify just a box that will most likely contain loot, which is what this is. But you can just right-click your scrolls of identification and then use them on a box. So unfortunately, this has freezes you when activated, and I cannot actually do that right now. I could, but I might die, so we're just gonna pass up on it. Getting frozen is like a pretty pissy thing to have happen, so I'm just gonna, we're not gonna worry about it. I'm gonna try to make myself look smart. The smart thing would actually be to go to town and kind of craft a thing that makes it so I'm immune to freeze, but I guess it's close to the kind of time when I'd want it. You can kind of, if you hit tab in the top right, it shows you the zone level, so it's 14, so I'm still 1 level above the zone. So I don't have to necessarily be doing as much as I am right now. There's an optional quest here to do, but it doesn't give you a skill point, so you don't have to worry about it really. Generally speaking, again, one of the things that's usually regarded as a priority in this kind of game is, does it give you a skill point? which it doesn't in this regard, so we're just gonna pass right on. The zombies kind of remind me of Neo, because they have what looks like farm equipment. Let's see, if you're also kind of looking for some min-maxy stuff, this is kind of the point when I would mention that blue packs are the most efficient in terms of probably the likelihood that you'll kill them quickly and also the amount of experience you gain. Yellow monsters generally have much more life and are usually just one big single point of life that you'd have to kill. But if you find a blue pack, just killing the entire blue pack will result in the most experience, because they don't necessarily have that much more life that it's significant and not worth attacking. But if you can just go through a map and then notice a bunch of blue packs, it's usually not that bad an idea to just try and kill them all. You're gonna see that I'm gonna kill a bunch of yellow and unique enemies, and normally that wouldn't be the case. And if you watch anyone else play, they probably don't do that. So you can also take that advice if you want to, feel a little bit more adventurous again. Getting levels doesn't necessarily equate to just ridiculously, like if you're in a level like 15 zone and you're level 20, that doesn't necessarily mean you're going to completely destroy everything in the zone. But if you're a couple levels over, you can kind of go through a little bit more quickly, or not be as thorough. Or if you leave a couple enemies behind, they're not going to turn into endgame bosses and kill you later because you killed all their friends or anything.
The air stinks of thaumaturgy.
If they do, that's kind of ridiculous. But, you don't have to worry about it. So Chamber of Sins is a pretty cool place to level, actually. So kind of one of the unique things about this is the zone is basically a big square. So you're going to come in at the top left, and then what you're going to be looking for is a stairwell down into the next zone. So if you think of the map as a square, the top left corner is where you come in. Every other corner on the map will be either a stairwell down into the next zone or a pack of blue monsters. So if you're trying to level very quickly, you can reliably just go through the map and go to each of the corners, and you'll definitely, for sure, find a blue pack. So it's a very consistent and reliable way to level at this point in the game. So if you needed a place to level in the first zone, you can play ledge. If you need a place to level in this zone or in this act, you can kind of hang out here for a little while. It's kind of scary because the zombie enemies kind of release a poison cloud when they die, but it's not that ridiculous that you're going to need to avoid them entirely. You just make sure you take note of it and then don't just stand around for too long. If you're playing an energy shield based character, it's important to note here as well, since they do have caustic clouds, that chaos damage goes through your energy shield, so it's an important aspect to forget. So we kind of lucked out here. The top right corner just ended up having the stairwell. So like I said, you're going to want to have a little bit of lightning resistance. I think 30 is fine. Depending on how close you're going to need to end up getting to that boss, you might want a little bit more. So one thing that you can do is just leave and go the other way on that map, but we're going to do this part. So everything here does lightning damage. So the second you get here, if you don't have significant lightning resistance or enough that you think you're going to be okay, just leave. And then don't even worry about or risk dying. You can kind of see that all my skeletons are dead already, so if you're kind of wondering how significant that lightning damage ends up being, pretty significant. But because I have a bunch of other minions and stuff like that, I don't really have to worry about it too much. These little totems from the essence monster, a little bit unique. These wouldn't necessarily always be here. There's a necro in here somewhere, yeah. If you are also a necromancer, you can have a necromancer fight, and then just try and out-summon the necromancer. It's fun. It's a fun game to play. It's not really. One annoying thing about the AI for your summons, which is important to know, is that they generally want to go to where you're clicking. So if you click off to the side, they'll try to go that way as well.
Too much clutter.
Too much clutter. I'll just drop these, whatever. Actually, no, I should probably hang on to those. Ooh, I'll drop this one, actually. Let's ID this carved wand now. Sure. Since I'm playing a summoner, these damage stats don't matter. What I'm looking for is cast speed, I think. Attack speed. Sure. You know, I had Flesh Offering that whole time and didn't use it. I'll try to remember that I have it next time. Yeah. There's nothing really in particular that I look for this. I think generally speaking, the boss is going to be towards the right side of the map, or upright. So, I don't know. It's important, I guess.
Too much clutter.
Oh, I have too much clutter. I should go through and figure out what I needed in my inventory later, when we get back to town. Who? What's making that sound? Is it the skeletons? Can skeletons make noises with their mouths? I'm pretty sure it's my zombies that's making all those sounds. Yeah, so I think the boss, the area you're trying to get to is to the top right. But there's also a trial of ascendancy here that you're going to want to do. Which again, you have to do those once per character, and you're going to want to try and do them the first time you see them. No reason not to, really. So the reason those stone hammers are actually outlined in white is because it's part of a recipe that you're going to want to do at endgame. For cartographer's chisels. You don't necessarily have to worry about it now. It's not an item you even really can use now. But if you want to kind of grab a couple or just grab one every now and then because your loot filter kind of shows you to grab them, then you can. It wouldn't be the worst idea. So here you go. We got to the Trial of Ascendancy. And again, this is the thing. It's not necessarily that bad. It's a player skill check, which is, you know, not that common in this game, I suppose. Kind of see the buzzsaws do some pretty gnarly amounts of damage. Ow, ow, ow. Okay, so the thing with this is you want to line these up so that you have a window to walk through. You can just walk through them probably. That might get you far enough. I don't have a traversal skill, so normally you'd want to pick up one of those like Flame Dash or like Lightning Warp kind of things so that you can kind of navigate through this. You can probably just subvert this entire thing by having a skill like that, but because I don't, I'm kind of screwed. The way these scale, it's such that it's always kind of fearsome. Like it does percentage-based damage, so it's always a thing that you're going to need to be aware of. And it's kind of annoying to do sometimes, like in this scenario where I just can't see the thing. It sucks. But, you know, don't be too discouraged or anything. Kill that dude. Kill that dude. And then if you just believe in yourself hard enough, bam, Trial of Ascendancy, done. You can see how well you're doing with these right here. I think I missed, did I miss one? I don't think I missed one. Trying to remember where they all are even. So you need to do 6 in each act. There's probably gonna be something fancy with 3.0, so if you're watching this in 3.0, hi. Also, I don't like, keep an eye out for it, I guess. Who knows how that's going to change? It's a pretty significant part about leveling now, so I'd imagine that it would change in a pretty dramatic and important way. Oh, they're all dead. Hello. Yeah, look, I didn't even have to step foot in that room. Fuck yeah. But if you're not into spiders, this is where spiders start to show up in the game, so just be aware. I don't personally find the big spiders all that bad. There's a skill effect to make it so Spark, this like lightning ability that these enemies are using, looks like tiny spiders. And that actually does freak me out like a shit ton. I actually really hate it. Yeah, I think one component about the summoner stuff being a little bit more unwieldy than anything else is you can't really change the priorities on enemies. So generally speaking, if you're in a scenario with a necromancer, you probably want to kill them because they're just going to keep reviving their little skeleton bros. But because you can't tell your minions to do that, they're going to just be like bashing their head against all of the minions and then killing them and be like, oh, okay, he's dead. And then you just move on to the next minion, and then by that point, the necromancer has revived that first minion, and your minions are just like, oh, he's back. I'll hit him again, and then you could potentially just like never kill the necromancer and never get to them. Which it becomes a pretty crazy thing once you get to things like allies cannot die or something like that, which is a thing that happens. So there's literally one enemy that can die and then the rest cannot. So, you know, weirdness. So this is the kind of hallway you're looking for. Like I said, it's generally always to the top right. The geometry of this level is usually the same. So if you go right or upright, generally trying to get to the right, then you'll end up here. Homie over there is like on the ground and she's just like, slaughtered everyone. So you're just like, okay. So this boss has like a lightning, this ability has a name. I don't necessarily know what it is. Lightning strike, I think is what it is. Really gnarly if you don't have lightning resistance. It can just like one-shot you if you're not careful. So just be careful. It's fucking up my skeletons, that's for sure. It does disappear when it collides with the environment sometimes, so you can kind of exploit that, I guess. How or not. Oh god. And then while you're playing, get the lore. Learning is great. I'm glad it gave me a topaz ring after. Could really use that now. Alright, cool. And then you definitely didn't die, and it definitely wasn't a sketchy scenario, so then you go over here. And then you're just like, oh, Helena. Hey, Helena. And then you're just like, okay, cool, let's go back to town. Every single time in the first normal difficulty thing, you can kind of... I don't think any of these apply to my minions, right? I don't think any of these apply to my minions. Oh, Desecrate. I want Desecrate. Exiles.
A beast hunts us in her.
A beast hunts us. If you talk to the people that actually give you the quests that you'll need to do, so those will point you to the places to go. Generally speaking, every zone has a quest, so if you just kind of follow that logic, then you'll find most of the quests just passively by walking through the environment. Let's see, I barely used my lightning or my scrolls in that zone. Oh, fantastic, I got a bunch of lightning resistance. It's very useful now. It's at this point that I can probably mention that you can actually, so you can kind of notice that you do have white items, and then blue items just have 2 affixes. So if you really wanted to craft your own items, you can. And so what ends up happening is you craft on the specific affixes. So if we make this a magical item, then you just notice that ample quicksilver flask of resistance. Ample and of resistance are the things that you just added onto the item. So you can kind of, there's an item to just make it a blue item, and then you have items to just swap around what the affixes are. So now I just want to, those both seem like terrible affixes. Let's like use this item that reforges a magic item with new properties, and then it just has new properties. This is also bad, so we're just gonna pretend that didn't happen. But that's kind of what you can do. So if it just has one affix, if you make it rare and it has one affix, you can use it in Orb of Augmentation to put on another affix. And that's generally how the crafting in this game works. You can just swap on a bunch of affixes, and that's kind of what you're gonna be shooting for too. Sorry, I was reading this. Is what affixes do you want, and then like what affixes are there. Cool. Oh, I think I want this on there. It's at this point that I'm just gonna put on a chest item. It's not worth the hassle of
troubles you bring.
Not having it on or anything like that. So a lot of the ooh, do I want that? Craving. I don't actually know. This one of the things that you can also do, because the crafting is relatively complex, is there's also more advanced crafting recipes. So if you sell like an iron ring, which is just a ring, but also with a skill gem, you get a ring of resistance back, and there are color coordinates to be like yellow, green orbs give you oh god, lightning resistance, and then red orbs give you fire resistance. So kind of discovering what those recipes are is kind of the bread and butter of the game, and especially playing solo self-found like I will be doing.
Going?
And then some are more useful than others. In fact, there is like a recipe that I would probably want to be taking of advantage now, and I'm just not happening to not do it. I should probably put one of these on. Parandus. Let's just use these shrine ones because they seem like whatever. The league stones have charges, so you can see it has 5 charges. That just means the next 5 zones you have will have a thing, or whatever next 5 zones you walk in. If you decide that the next zone should have a whatever thing on it. I don't know what next monster will do cold damage to me, so we're just not gonna worry about it really. We're gonna make E, and then we're gonna move this over because we're gonna find a bunch of more E. I need more dexterity to use desecrate. So now that we did that, we're gonna go the other way. There's other stuff, if you notice here, there's other stuff in these 2 different places, but we're not gonna go there now. We're actually going to go to the riverways. That sound where it's like metal hitting something, that's the sound of the league stone getting used, so don't freak out or anything. I wonder if I have another zombie yet. You can see that the zone level's 15, I'm 17, so, you know, I don't have a movement skill. I should go back and get one. I'm gonna go back and get one. It's at this point where you want to have a movement skill. I don't know why I didn't grab one. Oh, I wanted summon skeletons, that's right. So if you're ever in a scenario where you're just like, man, all of those skill gems seem like they would be useful. I'm sad I only could get one. You can actually go back to the vendor and then they have all of the skill gems. So if you made a bad choice or you want to just grab another one, they're here for you to grab. So what did I say I wanted? So yeah, I think if you're me and you have like minion damage, and you're just like, I really want all my minions to have minion damage, I can grab another minion damage right here, and then just slot it in, which it's not a half bad idea actually. I really want a lightning orb. I don't know what the better traversal skill. Spirit offering? No. Is this the one? I need one of these. 2% of their life is energy shield. That's not what I want. Raise zombie. There's a bunch of shit here. What am I looking for? Lightning warp. This is the point where you'd actually really want a traversal skill. Because the next area has a bunch of broken bridges that you can just bypass entirely by having a movement skill. So now's the time. Doesn't really matter the layout that you have your skills in, just as long as you have it in a way that makes sense for you, which is what that is for me. And so the movement skill is going to be kind of nice here because you can just follow the road for the most part, which as we'll follow the road and you'll see, sometimes the road is broken. Dang, look, you can really feel the increased damage. Ow. Look how fearsome my zombies are when we're like much higher level than the zone. Yeah, this is kind of a really satisfying aspect of playing a summoner build to me, is if you have a bunch of minions and they just collide with a bunch of enemies and then all the enemies are dead. That's kind of cool. Maybe not cool for everybody, it's cool for me. So if you follow the road, which we're trying to do to get to the whatever. The next point, which is the western board, so it's called? I don't know. Ooh, one cool aspect about having the summon raging spirits, if you plan on playing this build, is they are technically minions. They're people, they're enemies that can be targeted. So they can eat a projectile for you, which is kind of nice. So right there, the bridge is totally broken, and I'm just like, oh, whatever, and I lightning warped over it. Not possible if you don't have a movement skill. So you'd want a movement skill at this point. So if you follow the road, you'll find the waypoint, which you will want later. So just make sure you grab it. And it'll become kind of important later. But it's just much easier to follow it. Normally, if you do this and you don't have a movement skill, you'd have to kind of walk along the water's edge until you find like a land bridge created by a bunch of rocks. And then that's going to be how you get across instead. But if you have a movement skill like you do now, then you can just follow the road still. I think they ended up changing the balance of like when you got a movement skill to specifically account for the fact that it's easier to do that zone in particular if you have a movement skill. Okay, so now I have another skill point. Yo, look at all this extra energy shield. I'm unstoppable now. Okay, this is another pretty big, wide open zone, so we're gonna want to follow the road again. My strategy for Path of Exile generally revolves around going to the left and or following the road. Hey, promise. Oh, they drop a breach ring? Hello. If you follow the road, you'll get a waypoint. That waypoint is important to have. Because you might be returning here. You might not, actually, if you do everything right. We will have to, but you don't necessarily have to. One of the other Act 2 things. If you do the Chamber of Sins early on, you don't have to worry about finding lightning resistance, but generally speaking, you might have to go back to that later. To make sure you have the lightning resistance to not die to the boss. It looked, I don't know how not good it looked for people watching, but that was not the best version of that fight. And it's mostly because like my minions do all my damage and my minions just aren't there if they all die to lightning resistance or lightning damage, because my minions have no lightning resistance. So that's pretty fun. Okay, so if you follow the road long enough, you'll find the black guards who are tasked with protecting that little road that Piety made, which you'd know if you looked at the lore. So, you know, lore hype. They're not just here for no reason. Piety specifically left this dude. So you can just do this. Make sure you hit this button. So now you can return to Act. If you follow this road, you'll end up back in Act 1, but we are not going to go that way. So what we're going to do is we're going to make reference to this map. So if you kind of see over here, there's a little break in the road. I'll try to go over to it. We'll make note of this break in the road again later. So if we follow the road back, there's two other very important things in this zone. If you follow this break in the road, you'll end up at a bandit camp. But because we're not doing that right now, we're just going to walk right across to the other side. And you're going to kind of notice that the trees have some spider webs on it, which again, if you're scared of spiders, this is the part where you stop playing Path of Exile. And we're gonna go into this area with the spiders or whatever. So the one important thing here is Alira, which is part of the bandit quest line, which we're gonna make note of soon. But the other thing is the Weaver's Den, which we need to go into to get a thing. Quiet. So it's always, the zone is always constructed in that way, where on one side is Alira's camp, on the other side is the Weaver's Den. So you can always look for that little break in the road, and then if you're just looking for the Weaver's Den, you can kind of just walk across the other way to find the Weaver's Den. Okay, contains 2 magical items, revive nearby monsters with the onslaught. So we can actually just kind of subvert that onslaught thing by summoning a bunch of dudes. Okay, so what we're gonna do here is, this doesn't freeze me, so we'll actually open it. So when you click it, a bunch of enemies walk out. don't be there. Sometimes there's more violent effects, like there's just like explodes after opening. So after a short amount of time, it just causes this big massive explosion, which can just instantly kill you if you're not careful. So be aware of that. And then once it does open, just a shit ton of loot drops out, which might not be useful to me. I think I wanted that quartz wand, but I don't really care right now.
Come to me, Exile.
I can't believe I didn't really
My
find any.
sculpture
Oh,
can
I
be
found an
outside.
Elrion. So these masters just give you specific quests to do. If you do it, you get some fancy stuff. Generally speaking, you kind of want to try and do them as much as possible. Especially if you're playing for your first time, just kind of do it. Katarina actually points, as many of the other masters do, they point to, if they have like a thing where there's like kill a monster, they'll generally point to the monster unless there's a very specific reason why. And then you can just kind of follow what they're doing. Before it was a little bit more subtle, but now they just have like circles on the ground for some of them, which is the change that ended up happening before. You probably should try to do them. You don't have to, it's not like a make or break kind of thing. And some of them are a little bit more annoying, like Vagan, I think is what his name is. He has ones where he wants you to like assassinate a specific enemy or do something with a specific enemy or something like that. And sometimes it's hard to do when you're playing a summoner build and you can't specify what target you want to attack. So maybe you don't even have to worry about it all the time. Ow. This boss does a bunch of chaos damage, so that's pretty gnarly for me. I'm just trying to run away and let my minions do the talking. So you want this Malagaro spike. So that's kind of one of the important things to grab out of this zone. Which is, again, the reason why we walked in here in the first place. I can imagine neither of these are going to be really that great. Oh, well, this is like double the amount of energy shield. We should probably grab that. Socketed fire gems. This is actually, I do want that, I guess. It's important to take note on the skill gems. They are very specific for a very specific reason. So summon raging spirits is a spell, minion, duration, and fire. So anything that modifies spells, minion skills, minion duration, and then fire skills will alter summon raging spirits. So because minion damage is a support for minion skills, it supports the minion aspect of summon raging spirits. And then that's one of the other things about +1 level of socketed fire gems. Summon raging spirits is a fire gem, so it just has a +1 level, which is a bigger deal for some skill. It's a pretty big deal for summon raging spirits, but because it's +1 on summon raging spirits, whatever stats are on a level 6 summon raging spirits are applied to the skill when I use it with a +1 wand, which is what I want. So this is kind of like the most ideal blue wand I could possibly have found, I think. It's kind of ridiculous. So then we're also going to do some of this crafting. So the chromatic orb just recolors the sockets. You'll also notice that these are 2 blue gems, and this is a blue and a red socket. I want them both to be blue, so I'm going to use a chromatic orb, and it didn't work. I can't believe it. I'm so salty. It just rolls it randomly, so you're kind of subject to RNG in that regard. This also has a bunch of damage, so this is kind of the most unideal. It's a really okay wand, just not for me in particular. It rolls it on a chance, and the chance is based on what kind of item it is, so it's an intelligence-based item, so it's most likely that all of these sockets will roll blue. If it's like a dexterity-based item solely, then you can see it's based on the requirements, basically, so if an item requires like 50 dexterity, chromatic will basically always most likely roll green on the item instead. So anything that I have that's fire-related will be important to kind of put here. There's things for like added chance to like ignite or something like that, or other kind of things like that. Fire-related things, added fire damage would just add on to the fire damage from that, so it's kind of cool to see. So you can kind of see on these support gems, so faster casting support just makes it so I cast whatever spell faster. And it's mostly useful for this difference is to scale differently with spells and attacks. which I haven't seen a bunch of attacks, I don't think. So support AoE. None of my skills are really AoE, I don't think. Or maybe zombie effect is AoE. Spell support, so you can kind of read. And again, these affixes are very, very specific for very specific reasons. It's so that you can read the tooltip as directly as possible and not have to think about it too much. Or there's not much interpretation that ends up happening. It's just, what does it say? That's how it works, and that's kind of it. I don't really have a reason to use this minion. Just speed. So I'm just gonna throw it on there. Okay, so I have the spike and the gem. So now that we have those two things, we're gonna go to the riverways. And then so now the reason we got this waypoint is now we can follow this break in the road, which you can see on the minimap. It might not be that obvious based on just looking at it, but you can see it on the minimap. I have no idea where this actually goes. Whoops. If we follow this break in the road, there's like a little bit of a stone path that we're going to be following, which is what we want to follow to the next zone. Some of these subtle, it appears less subtle. You can generally just go like up and to the left, but if you follow the stone path, you'll definitely, most certainly end up in the right area. This is one area where it's kind of, the wetlands is kind of a little bit more random. And what you're looking for here is oak, which is a part of the bandits quest line. You can kind of decide who to go with for oak, which will show you a little bit later. Once we get to oak. If you side, these bandits are kind of terrorizing like the town, and so you kind of have to deal with them as a problem. So you can either kill them all, which has its own reward, or you can side with one of the bandits, which each of the bandits have their own reward. So you just have to kind of figure out what's best for your character. On this character, I think it would be actually most beneficial to get a passive skill tree point. The other option is mana. It's like 40 flat mana. I'll probably just get the passive skill tree point. So it says here, if you kill Oak, you cannot change your mind if you help it. Fuck you! You just killed my zombie! If you help him, you will permanently be granted 40 life. So the other ones are like 40 mana and then evasion. So generally speaking, you'd probably, if you're a life-based character, you probably always go with Oak, but I'm not, so I'm gonna kill Oak. Kind of wishing I was right now, though, based on all the damage I've taken. You know what I'm saying? Ow. Yeah, look how easy this is. I don't even have to really like fight the boss. I'm just like, whatever. Oh, R, sorry. Recently moved that, so I had no idea where it was. Ow. This guy Oak is unpredictable. Whoa, crazy. I think what's happening is my minions are thinking they need to be moving where I'm moving. Oh, I just killed all my zombies. Fuck you. Ow. I think one other component about the minions is that they don't naturally pull a bunch of aggro, so to speak, so I feel like what I want my zombies to do is like grab an enemy. Like they don't even really have to attack. I just want them to grab an enemy so they don't specifically attack me. And the fact that that doesn't happen is kind of annoying. Like he will randomly just leap slam over to me, which is really annoying. It's like the strategy you should employ is the person trying to kill a
This land has no
like
time
a summoner,
avaricious
but
little despots like you.
it's really annoying to deal with as not the as the summoner. Okay, so now that we kill Oak, I was gonna use a scroll or whatever, but I'm not going to. So now that we kill Oak, what you want to do is lead back out, and then whatever way you want to go from him, you want to go down to the bottom left is where we're gonna start. So what we're gonna be looking for is the entrance to the next zone, which is generally speaking always along this left wall, or somewhere like on this, aligned with this left wall somewhat, so you can follow it to kind of find the way to go. It could be as low as the bottom left, so it's worth just kind of checking. I'm just gonna kind of kill this guy because he's annoying me. So you can kind of just see on the mini map, if we just keep going this way, then we'll eventually go all the way around. On the right side is usually like there's a cliff wall and then also like water. That's not where we want to go. You can kind of see that the place we fought Oak is like way already to the other side, pretty much, or below us, a little further south than us now. Yeah, you can kind of see that my zombies are kind of like walking towards me. So this is what you're looking for, this tree roots. If you have the Malagaro spike and the Baleful Gem, then you'll be able to open it. And then there's also a waypoint attached to it, so you want to make sure you touch the waypoint. So we can't actually go through there until we have all the parts of the bandit amulet. So we need to go back and make sure we find it. So what we're going to be looking for again is that break in the road that we used as a reference for the thing. So it actually rezoned us, so we have to kind of find it again here. It's not that big a deal to find. I don't know if there's like a pro tip to be looking for, to just be like, is it one way or the other way? So now that we've seen that the Weaver's Forest is to the left, then we can just immediately turn to the right, but it's worth noting that if you follow this stone path, you will directly end up at Alira's camp, so we should just follow this stone path. I'm not actually sure what's optimal for this build, if I want the skill point or if I want the mana. I don't think I want the mana because it's not energy shield, so. The life is like a pretty significant amount of life. So this adds 60 mana, but I'm good, so we're just gonna kill Alira. 60 mana is probably like pretty good, but I'm just gonna hope that it's not, whatever. You can, despite the fact that it says like, you cannot change this decision, you can actually change the decision. It's just like relatively expensive up against all the other kinds of things that you can respec in the game, so. You generally don't want to have to respec this kind of change, but you know, it's not a big deal. We're just gonna believe in the heart of the cards and hope that whatever mana kind of points and stuff that I get are gonna be enough to offset not getting this flat mana.
Let the power go to your
So now that we did that, you can just go back to whatever, and then the last bandit is actually up here in the top right. Generally speaking, you're gonna want to grab all the waypoints along the way. They're not the most important thing to have, but especially things like the crossroads, you're gonna want to be looking for, which you would just find by following the road. Okay, the broken bridge. I think there's an easier way to get through this zone, but if you just follow the road, then you'll be able to find the place to go for sure. The road leads to the guy, so you can kind of cut across if you just like take a hard right here, and then just follow something along the right. You'll probably find it eventually, but you don't have to worry about it too much. While you're playing through on normal, if you find these like ruby, topaz, and sapphire rings, it's good to have like a couple of them just on hand, just in case you notice that something's kind of gnarly to you. Revives random curse while activated, cast Firestorm. So again, we're gonna subvert this like revives nearby enemies by just fucking up all the corpses nearby, no big deal. And then grab it and run away. Oh gosh, I don't know why my skills didn't work right there. The most ideal way to do this in some regard is to just open the thing and for them to just instantly die. So just keep, you know, that's kind of, if you can do that, that would be the most ideal thing. Let's see, so this area is level 16, I'm 19, so we're just gonna truck through our way a little bit more. Oh, he's bleeding. he's bleeding too. Not good. If you follow the road, you'll also get the waypoint, so it's kind of cool. You can grab that. Oh, one of the things is that green aura grants attack speed to all of the enemies. Oh, he's also volatile. Volatile means he will explode once he dies. So if you can kill him while he's not standing right next to you, that would be ideal. The way that the damage, I relearned this recently, the way the damage is calculated for the explosion is it's a percentage, it's based off of the damage that's used to kill him. So, you know, if you hit him with like a gigantic meaty attack and you're standing right next to him, you will probably take a significant amount of that attack back to yourself. So, just take note of it. Especially when you're probably doing way more than you have life. So just, you know, take note. So this is the last one, Creighton.
You've been doing some serious gardening.
He gives you +10 to all elemental resistances. That should usually never be a factor, so you know you should just kill him. It sounds kind of appealing, to be honest, but can you like step off? Cool, I leveled up.
Disappointing, really. I usually like rats.
I usually like rats. I usually hate everything that the witch has to say. So now, if you kill all of the dudes, what you want to do is turn them into Aramir here, and he will give you this apex, which again you will need that at the end. It won't let you go unless you have the apex. So make sure you grab it. And then we're gonna go back to wetlands now that you have the amulet. There are side quests here to do, so you know if you want to do them, I'm not gonna stop you. They give you respec points and stuff like that, or items, so just go for it. Okay. So then the Vol Pyramid. Oh, we're not even in the Vol Pyramid. I mean, we're in the Vol Ruins. So this zone is kind of whatever. If you do the Michael Macassiano taking left turns, you'll eventually get to the end. This is kind of a frustrating zone, as will be the Vol Pyramid, which we'll get to later, spoilers. But if you just believe in yourself and get through it. So now we're actually at the same level as the zone. I'm not necessarily sure if you'll notice like a big difference in just like, there was 4 levels of difference between this zone and the zone I was just in, so. I don't know if that'll come across, but that is the case. This is a mana flask. What you want to look for is this greater to grand life flask. It's a pretty significant increase of HP healed. So this is 360, this is 640. That's a sizable number. That's an impressive number to increase in the amount of healing. Oh, actually, did I ID this chest piece? I haven't like ID'd the gear I've been picking up. Okay. +4 to ES. Fire resistance. Sure life. Life is fine now. You probably won't want or need the life later, but it's fine now. I will want lightning resistance later, so this is kind of a big deal. Man. This is the same amount of energy shield, and I'm not doing any spell damage, so I probably want to try to equip that at some point. If I can figure out how to replace those sockets, actually I can if I just like do this and then lose all my zombies. The next thing you're going to want to look for is lightning resistance, because the next boss doesn't really do lightning damage. But mana, cold resistance, lightning, fire. Oh, okay, this is just more resistance overall. Fuck you, cold mana ring. Okay. Yeah, the next boss you're gonna really fight, that you're gonna have to worry about is, oops. is a boss that has, oh, I didn't put the skeletons back in. The next boss you're gonna really wanna consider is one that has lightning damage. So, once you get here, any kind of lightning resistance rings that you had before, you're gonna wanna hang on to, and then you're gonna be utilizing them again later. I forgot that he's an essence man. The essences of anger and the essences of X, the of X is the specific attribute that it has, and they have predictable effects. So they do the same exact kind of thing every time. So when you're scanning over an enemy, you will know exactly the kind of thing that they will be doing. So if you pay attention close enough, you should not be surprised. But because I don't pay attention enough, I'm probably going to be surprised every time. Don't be like me. Hey, look, I'm doing some hardcore fighting. I'm not even in the room. Ow. This might actually end up, I don't know if this will take more time. This is probably about the same amount of time that we ended up playing on the first act. Generally speaking, whenever I do this, it's not, this feels slower, or it feels shorter than everything. The Act 1 always feels like the longest, especially on the new character. I think Act 4 might end up feeling a little bit long, but that's because there's actually just like so much shit to be done. Yeah, I'm always kind of curious with this kind of game, what the new player experience is like, because it's a pretty dense game. And especially if you play Legacy, there's a bunch of new mechanics. I suggest you play the new League. There's a lot of mechanics that will be kind of thrown at you on top of all the core mechanics of the game. There's like the Legacy Stones, which are just like Legacy League effects that you just do not understand, probably.
How fascinating.
I think there's like 2 leagues where I just genuinely don't have any idea how they really work. And that's because I didn't really play in them, but for the most part, I kind of know how everything works at least. So if there are affixes, I'm just like, oh, okay, I understand how that works. And again, it's one component of the fact that the game is entirely based around player knowledge. Or not entirely, I guess. A big component about doing well in Path of Exile is based on player knowledge. Okay, so the thing that you're looking for is that orb. I think if you there's only one way out of this zone, so. As long as you don't double back on yourself, you won't get that lost. This is basically a straight line of a zone, so what I usually do is I just hug the right side of the map, which is generally water, because it will lead you to a waypoint, which is what you want, and also it's just the most surefire way to get through the zone. It's a pretty straight line, but it can get really wide at points. And since the waypoint is along the right side of the map anyway, I feel like it's not that bad an idea to follow the right side. Oh, you know what we forgot to do when we got back to town is once you open that waypoint to the first act again, you're gonna want to go back to the first act, which I don't know if I actually did that. So we're gonna go do that. I kind of wonder how many characters I forget to do that on. Which this is one of them. I've completely forgotten. This ghost is kind of cool. When it passes over enemies, it will affect them with the ghostliness, and it will make it so they drop better loot. If it passes over a yellow or unique mob, then it will possess that unique mob and then make it so they drop hella loot. So it's kind of fun. Kind of unfortunate that they didn't turn to the side and just walk in that guy, but you know, whatever. You'll probably see it at some point. It's not something that I try to do even. I'm pretty sure whenever I see a ghost, I just ignore it unless it's touching a rare monster. Then maybe I'll wait for a second and not kill them instantly. The ghost generally just runs away from you. It's more scared of you than you are scared of it. If you're scared of it at all, I guess. So here you go, here's the waypoint. It's at this point that I'm just gonna go way back to Act 1. You kinda want it, whenever you return to town in Act 2 after doing the Weaver's Den, you wanna go back, you wanna talk to Bestel. He'll give you a hot poem, you should listen to it, #bars, and then you get a skill point. So then you're gonna have an increased number of specters, which if you don't have the specter skill, is kind of a bummer. Then you're gonna go back to the Northern Forest, and then back along the thing, back on our journey. Wow, I've never seen this layout before. What? That pisses me off. Are you kidding me? I've never seen this layout. Path of Exile never ceases to surprise with the layouts. So 21, we're 21. We're finally making like good time. Or good percentage experience gains or whatever.
Talamoana, warrior.
Ooh, this is Haku. I generally go for Haku things, so we're just gonna do it. Haku's things are very consistent, and that you can always decide if you like them or don't like them because they're always the same thing every time. He wants you to look for a specter inside of this little, this mini dungeon kind of thing. So if you go in, it's like a Karui spirit or some shit like that. There's probably some very important lore that I don't know about. And you're gonna try to free it. That's one aspect of the lore that I actually don't know. I don't really know a lot of the lore in the game at all, so. I don't know what I normally have my offering bound to, because I'm mishitting that every single time. I should be using that more. Oh gosh, totems. Ooh. Sound like orcs, actually. All right, so once you kill, normally it's on like a totem or like a necromancer. And once you kill it, it frees the spirit. You just grab it, and then some crazy shit happens. This is where you generally want to be careful because some of these things can like fuck you up real hardcore. These explosions will probably one-shot you in some instances, so just be careful. Don't be like me and then just be like, what are ground effects? And then die. It's happened more than once. Not afraid to admit it. I'm a terrible player, no big deal. They don't do any damage as you're walking over them, but the explosion will most certainly do a lot of damage. If you play Diablo, it's like when enemies drop explosions when you kill them, like blue and yellow packs. It's like that. They're pretty much equally as dangerous. So then you're just like, oh, okay, cool. And he's like, Talamoana warrior, which I don't necessarily know what that means. I'm assuming he's coming on to me, in which case, no thank you. Or maybe thank you, I don't know. Ow. Get in there, get involved. That's my favorite thing to say at like a metal show. If, yeah, hey, I don't know what that sound was. Something about, oh, leaks don't. Bloodlines. Fantastic. Oh, look at all these skill gems. Just hit the plus button on all of them. So you walk into this rock thing that looks very peculiar, and then you end up in this cave, which is also a straight line. A lot of these zones are straight lines, so you don't have to worry about too much getting lost. I guess they're not really straight lines. There's only one way out, which I guess is the case for many of the environments. Not always. Sometimes you could get lost. Yeah, I feel like this might run a little bit faster than the first act, but you know, I'm kind of trying to condense a bunch of knowledge into these videos. There's plenty more to learn about the game. And you'll probably, even if you play it for like a couple years, depending on how much you look up or whatever, there will constantly be new things to learn. And even if you do look things up, the chances that you just miss something are pretty high because there's just a lot of knowledge in the game to know. Okay, so I don't think this could possibly replace the thing that I'm using, but it's worth looking, I guess. Oh, my skeletons are gone. Zombies, skeletons. Yeah, but you could follow along pretty directly if you're watching this and you kind of want to play. You can follow what I'm doing pretty exactly. And then maybe I'll try to go over the character once I get to endgame. Because I won't do this for the entire game. I'll just do this for like the first difficulty. Because the way the structure of this will change in 3.0, which is just in like 3 months. But the way the game works right now is it's basically the first 4 acts of the game, and then once you get to the end of Act 4, it just loops back around and returns you back to Act 1, but in cruel difficulty, where your resistances are a little bit lower. So, from a content standpoint, it's basically the same exact thing 3 times over, but artificially a little bit more difficult. So a lot of the things that you will learn here, you can just directly apply to the forehead. 1, 2. Trying to figure out how I'm gonna path my way there. Sorry. Yeah, I think I mentioned this before, but the tentative build that I'm going to be following, skill tree that I'm going to be following, should be in the description somewhere. So if you kind of want to follow along at home, you can. It's not the best skill tree ever. I just usually just make my own whatever builds and then play. The game is such that if you can probably like put together your own like scrappy build and get to endgame, but then how deep you get into endgame is really just dependent on how good your build is. Like you can get to endgame with a build you throw together as like a new player, but you might not necessarily get further than that unless you have more knowledge of the game, or you just happen to build really well or something. So generally speaking, the thing that you get from me will get you to endgame, and then probably not into any of the endgame bosses or anything like that. So just keep that in mind. Or it probably could, but you'd need a little bit more than just my skill tree, let's say. Let's see. Oh, so you want that waypoint. There's no reason to really go back at this point. There's no skill points or anything. But this zone is kind of pissy. You'll go through several floors of this same exact kind of layout kind of thing. I don't necessarily know if there's some fixed determinate way to get through it. I just take left turns through this zone and then kind of make my way towards the end. It's kind of annoying. What you're looking for is a stairwell, and the stairwell will kind of reveal itself pretty far off. All right, whatever, I don't care about you. This is level 22, I'm 22, whatever. It's at this point that I can stop attacking enemies. I'm gonna keep attacking though. You're looking for a stairwell. Generally speaking, these little random one-off passageways are dead ends once you start getting to the edges of the map. Because I think the zone is effectively divided into quadrants. Oh, you can tell if it's a dead end by walking into the room, I guess, but towards the edges they're kind of just dead ends. Ow, ow, ow. Oh, my skeletons are dead. I mean, zombies. Ah, volatile. A torture cage to wear in your head is pretty gnarly, but, you know. I'm not gonna question what the witch is into. It's cool. I get it, you're weird. I mean different. don't think this is the way. Okay, no. Yeah, what you're looking for, it's gonna come up as orange on the mini-map. I'm very unlucky right now. Oh, here it is. This. So this will bring you up to the new ancient pyramid zone, and then you're going to have to go through like a few more stairwells. So generally, you can kind of go through the zone like that. You can probably like dissect. You can dissect the zone. That's definitely not the right word. You can walk around until you find this little stairwell, and then just go up. I think it's 3 zones in total until the boss. The boss doesn't necessarily do anything crazy elemental-wise. You'll probably want to be dodging his attacks anyway, so just assume that you don't really need any particular elemental resistance. It's a one big single guy, so just kind of account for that. Single as in it's just one guy, not like he's decided to not take on a wife or husband. Oh, here you go, look at that. The next stairwell. So now we got to find out how to get down there. Oh, here you go. This is an enemies cannot die totem. This is the most annoying thing to deal with as a summoner. It's not all the time that you can just walk up to the enemy and then just attack it like that, so as a summoner, those usually piss me the fuck off. Because I'm really stubborn and unwilling to kind of do anything different. I'm not willing to change what I do. I just kind of expect the game to let me do it anyway. I guess you might need some, generally speaking, as you're progressing through the game, you always want to be kind of trying to cap out your resistances. At any given point, your resistance is capped out at 75. This is 76 because I have a passive skill that makes it so it's +1 to my maximum. But you generally want to try to be maxing those out as you go through the game. Once you get to the next difficulty up, you're going to have to, the resistance cap will lower, so where it's normally base 0, it's base like -10 in Cruel. So instead of having 75 resistance, you're going to need 85. Or maybe it's -25 or something. It's lower. You're going to need more resistance, and you're just going to have to reference the life. Oh, look, another thing. So once you get to 3, I think I said it was 3. Once you get through enough, you get to the pyramid apex. And if you have the pyramid apex, which you need to have to get here anyway, then you put the apex here. It might actually just tell you you need the apex now. So once you have the apex, which was, you got it as a result of doing those minion bandit quests, then this happens. And then you witness this cool thing. And then, whoa, a triangle, huh? Ow. Okay, so it does that lightning shot thing, but you should generally just try not to get hit by it, because if you get, I think it shocks you almost indefinitely, and if he just hits you like 3 times in a row, I'm pretty sure no matter who you are at this point, you're just gonna get killed. So you just try to dodge it. He just kind of, you can just shuffle step him. He just kind of goes fired straight at you, so if you just go like left, turn and then go back around, then you're gonna be fine. Ooh, he's gonna totally kill a bunch of my minions. Oh, too bad they explode when they die. Nice shot, dummy. Okay, so there you go. That's the Act 2 boss. Someone got to level 80. Look at that guy. Face. So that's Act 2. So like Act 2, once you get to the end, it'll immediately spit you out to a waypoint. Once the fucking door opens,
I think we could have.
then you just click on this waypoint, and then any town portal scroll will bring you back to the forest encampment. So there you go. Act 2 completed. You can try to talk to these guys. This guy generally does not like you, and I think he still doesn't like you once you get back, so, you know, whatever. Okay, so there you go. Act 2. We'll kind of tackle Act 3. Remember next? Whatever. So we'll see you. We'll see you there. Oh my god, my computer's doing the thing again. Jesus. It takes so long to do this that my computer's just like, I forgot where the video was.